So continuing off of the NBA free agency so far, of course, my last video was the trade request by Dame Lillard. If you have not seen that, please go check that out. We are continuing with the Charlotte Hornets giving LaMelo Ball a 5-year deal worth up to $260 million extension and giving my thoughts on it. So there's two ways for me to break this down, my concerns and so forth for LaMelo. I'll throw out there, I don't see him finishing the contract there. I think in a year or two, in 3 years, he will request a trade. But I'll kind of get into that in the second part of the video with the bigger concern. The first one I have is for the Charlotte Hornets with the extension. It's not a big deal. I'm not trying to compare him to Lonzo with the extent of injuries he's had compared to that, because it's just been Lonzo has had a horrible luck with injuries. It's unfortunate seeing what's happening with him. He is expected to miss the entire season this year. It's sad. It's unfortunate. I don't want to go to the extent that Lonzo is, but there is concern as well because his brother LaMelo also has injury problems as well. Not to the extent as Lonzo, but it's still something to show. So if you look at his rookie season in 2020, he played 51 games. If you remember, that was a shortened season because of COVID. So the most games that he had that year were 72. They cut 10 off from the normal season. He played 51. Not bad. So he only missed 21 games. Not horrible. So for a start, 51 games, pretty good. From a 2021-2022 season, amazing season, 75 games out of 82. That's great. That's on par with a lot of superstars, even better than some. So 75 games is amazing. For the most part, played most of the entire season. And you kind of expect that. You don't expect your top players to play the full 82 games anymore. It's not like the 90s or anything like that. Teams are kind of load managing players, or players are opting to do that. So you're never really going to see a star player play a full 82 games. So 75 games, that's really great for a second year player, especially for his caliber. And unfortunately, we had the injury concerns in this year with only 36 games played. Again, I don't want to go as far as to say with Lonzo. Of course, Lonzo has way worse time missed and way worse injuries, but it is something. If we add up the total amount of games LaMelo was able to play through 3 years, it equals up to 236. And of course, you see on screen right now, he's played a grand total of 162 games out of the 236, which equals out to 68.6% games played out of that 236. Not horrible. You expect that to be in the mid to high 70s at this point. That'd be what I'd be comfortable with. But I'll give him a pass for that. I don't want to say he's completely injury riddled, because if he didn't have the severe injury this year, no doubt he would have been way past the 70% threshold, and we wouldn't even have this discussion. But I do want to acknowledge that is something to talk about for LaMelo. The injury concerns a little bit for that. But if you look at deeper stat-wise, it's gone better every single year. His rookie year, he went from 15.7 to now 23.3. Blocks has been relatively the same, 0.4, 0.4, 0.3. Steals, 1.6, 1.6, 1.3. Assists have gone up every single year, 6.1, 7.6, 8.4 this year. Rebounds, once again, have gotten better, a tick below what he had in 2021, but relatively the same at 6.4. Free throws have gotten better, 75% to now 83.6%. It is down from his second year at 87.2, but overall, you like to see those numbers get better. But overall, not horrible, not great, but not horrible. 3-point shot, same way too, 35% in 2020, 38% in 2021, 37% in 2022. Not a huge drop off from the second to the third year. You have to see that a little bit better. But overall, again, not great, but not horrible. And also a field goal percentage, relatively around the same mark, 43, 42, 41. If you do want to say there's concerns, because every single year he is regressing in that percentage-wise, but overall it's still in the same threshold. Once again, not, it's not horrible. We'll leave it at that. But overall, kind of, he's, for his first 3 years, especially shooting-wise, he has been relatively on par. It's not like he's having a huge drop off. He's had a great let's say hypothetical, like he had a 50% shooting and he drops down to 41. It's not a huge drop off like that. There is a small drop off every single year, but overall he's still on that same threshold, similar to the 3-point shot. So, and also look at minute wise, it has gone up every single year. 28 minutes, or just under 29 minutes his rookie year, 32 minutes in the second year, and 35 minutes this past year. So again, overall, stat wise and so forth, he is getting better. But I wanted to point out the games missed because that is somewhat of a concern for LaMelo Ball. The other thing I want to go to is just team-wise. The reason why I said I expect in a year or two, or is it possibly 3 years from now, that he will ask for a trade is because I just don't know how this team's going to do. Now, of course, Michael Jordan, as the owner, has done a horrible job. We can say that with developing players, drafting them. The only two players he's hit on is, of course, LaMelo and Kemba Walker. But, of course, Kemba Walker is not on the team anymore, so it doesn't really help LaMelo. Or, not even on the team when he first got drafted either, so it doesn't really help out LaMelo whatsoever. Top player-wise, they are bringing back Miles Bridges after suspension. They gave him a 1-year, $7.9 million qualifying offer. We'll see how he does. Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, Brandon Miller, who was the second overall pick in this past draft. So we'll see how he shines, how he develops. I mean, who knows? Maybe he can be a great duo player alongside LaMelo. We'll have to wait and see about that. But overall, those big pieces, at least big names on the roster, they don't really flash. Again, we'll see what happens with Brandon Miller in a year or two, and that may be the timeline for LaMelo potentially leaving, in my opinion, is the development of Brandon Miller. We'll have to see with that. But looking at those names, that's not good enough to get you over the top, get you into a consistent playoff basis. Who knows? Maybe I could be wrong, but that doesn't seem good enough to me, especially for LaMelo. And if you look at the stats, or the record-wise from his rookie year, or for his 3 years with Charlotte, first year in 2020, they go 33-39, 10th in the East. I'm pretty sure they made the play-in tournament for that, and I think ultimately lost. In 2021, they went 43-39, so a positive record. Was a 10th seed once again. I'm pretty sure they made the play-in tournament again. I'm not entirely sure about that, but step up 43-39 from 43-39 to 33-39. Not bad. I mean, still not good enough. You're once again, you were both 10th in the East back-to-back years, but there is some improvement. And once again, this is definitely factoring in LaMelo's injury, so that's a big reason why this record-wise, the record's horrible. But this past year, they went 27-55, or 14th in the East term. Once again, doesn't help that LaMelo was out and only played 36 games the entire year. But they did horrible, which is why they selected Brandon Miller with the second overall pick this year. Total record-wise, that leads to 103 wins, 133 losses through 3 years. Once again, it's not good enough for Charlotte. Even through Michael Jordan's time, I think they've only made the playoffs twice. They have not passed the first round in either of them. Also with the play-in tournament as well, adding that in, didn't even make it past the play-in tournament. So team-wise, it doesn't look good enough for LaMelo. And I don't see them attracting a star player or making a trade for one. I don't see that. It seems very unlikely. Like I said, there's always a possibility for that, even the smallest chance, but I don't see that happening for Charlotte. And also with the big pieces that I see, or at least how I view, it's not good enough. No doubt the defining factor is going to be Brandon Miller, just how he develops. Who knows, maybe if they have a great tandem and a great chemistry with each other, it could really change that, and maybe it can really bring this franchise up to a higher level than it's been. But overall, I don't like what the pieces they have around LaMelo, and I really thought LaMelo really fit Charlotte to begin with. I kind of expected him to get out as soon as possible and get to a bigger market. That's kind of like how I viewed it, similar to, you looked at right off the bat, Lonzo went to LA, a huge market, big name, big team, huge history with them. And for LaMelo, it's weird that you see him go to Charlotte. You expect kind of like a bigger market. I see that in LaMelo. I don't see him long-term wise being in Charlotte. He maybe give him a few seasons to see what he can turn around. or the team can turn around and help and show him that they are progressing in the right direction. But ultimately, I do expect him to leave Charlotte. And he's still young. He's still 21 years old, so he has time. Even if you wanted to give him, like I said, 3 years down the line, that leaves him at 24. Still a ton of basketball left. Still not even in his prime yet. He can go to a bigger market at that time. Even if he finished out the contract, he'll be 26 years old. Again, still in that prime. He can go somewhere else. So it's not a horrible situation for LaMelo, but I think ultimately, in my opinion, I predict that he will not finish the 5-year contract with Charlotte. And they didn't have, like I said in the beginning, they didn't have a choice. They had to sign him. They had to lock him in. If they let him walk, it would have been a huge disaster for Charlotte, and it would take them a long time for them to recover in that mark. So I'm gonna leave that here. Like I said, my final prediction once again is I just don't see him finishing his contract. I think in a year or two, 3-year max, he will request a trade and go somewhere else. But let me know your thoughts down below. If I was on the mark, if you agree with what I said, and also if you agree with the contract extension, and also if you have concerns with it as well, with the injuries or the team wise, let me know down below. But that being said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next one.